As we continue to wait as a nation for the results of our election, I want to shift back to the state of Georgia. I want to show you again just how tight the race is there. President Trump trailing Vice President Biden by just a few thousand points. A state that has long been a Republican stronghold now in the balance. And joining us now to get more context on the lay of the land there in Georgia is Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms. Mayor, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
So first of all, I got to tell you, can't remember when I've seen so many memes about Atlanta and Lil Jon and people with the party going on, socially distanced and virtually, of course. But just a little over a week ago, the Trump campaign felt very differently, very confident. During a press call, his campaign manager almost mocked Vice President Biden and said, quote, "I invite him to spend his time in Georgia. We feel very, very confident in our standing in Georgia based not just on polling information. The early voting data paints a very favorable picture for the president." Now, in your opinion, what caused this to turn into such a tight race in your state?
Well, I don't know what data they were looking at, but we saw that we were trending blue very early during the early vote. But this has been years in the making. A few years ago, Georgia instituted a motor voter registration process. So nearly 800,000 people in the state have been registered to vote just by getting their driver's license. That's helped. We've also seen a huge demographic shift in our state. We are trending younger. We are a more diverse state. And then you add on top of that where we are as a country, the social protests over the summer, COVID-19, and John Lewis's parting words to all of us: exercise your right to vote. If you don't, you could lose it. It's the best weapon that we have. I'm paraphrasing his words, and I think people across the state took that into the voting booth, and obviously it made a difference.
And right now, one of the largest counties at play is Fulton County, where thousands of provisional ballots have yet to be counted. Currently, Vice President Biden has 73% of the vote there. Do you expect there to be a significant difference in the tally of these provisional ballots, and does President Trump have some hope here?
Well, I know with provisional ballots, traditionally they are filled out, or we see a larger number traditionally of African-American voters who have to fill out provisional ballots, and African-Americans tend to vote as Democrats, especially in Fulton County. So I expect that number will continue to go up for Vice President Biden, and I think his lead will widen. It's going to be a close race. Just 3 years ago, my race for mayor in a runoff with nearly 100,000 votes cast, there was an 832 vote difference. So we're used to close elections in Fulton County. This one won't be any different across the state, but that's what I've been telling people for the past week, to remember the mayor's race in Atlanta and know that the margins would be just as thin across Georgia.
And Clayton County is one of those counties we just mentioned. It's also the county of the late and great civil rights hero John Lewis, who you just mentioned. Many people are crediting him and Stacey Abrams for the shifts that we're seeing in Georgia right now. Would you agree?
I think it's been a combination. We've had a lot of groups, a lot of people on the ground working. I think part of it, again, it's been the demographic shift. I think part of it has been work from Stacey and the NAACP and the Urban League and sororities and fraternities and volunteers. This really has been a great example of teamwork makes the dream work. But at the end of the day, I think credit has to be given to the Joe Biden campaign for believing in this state. At the end of last week, we saw Joe Biden in Georgia. We saw Kamala Harris come. We saw President Barack Obama. That hasn't happened in this state in a very long time. And it really helped with the momentum to know that they view this as truly a battleground state.
And as you know, the president tweeted about military ballots in this state. He says that they're missing. Of course, there's nothing to support that. But do you have any idea when we should expect to see those votes counted?
Well, the military ballots were due into the election offices by 5 o'clock today. And so the count should begin soon on those military ballots if they've not already begun. And again, just more excuses from President Trump. He's lost this election, and it is time for us to move on and to begin the transition once the count's in and these elections are certified. This is just an attempt to be disruptive, and it's time for the country to move on.
Now, in Georgia, if a candidate loses by less than 0.5% of total votes cast, then you go into a recount. The Secretary of State there has already said that a recount is likely. You've been an ardent critic of President Trump. If a recount does happen, would you support the outcome? Would you have any skepticism about it?
I think a recount would be appropriate. I think if that will give people confidence in the integrity of this election when an election is this close, I think that it's appropriate. But again, you can't assume that a recount is going to favor the person who's on the losing end. We've seen recounts where the number goes up for the person who's actually winning the election. So I have every confidence that we will have a recount that will confirm what we're already seeing. It's going to be close, but we knew this election would be close in Georgia. But I'm just so excited that Georgia is now in the blue column, and I think it's going to stay that way for quite some time.
And lastly, even after the presidential race is called, it is not over in Georgia. You have 2 runoffs for both of the Senate seats there. Are you concerned at all about the safety, both of voters and votes come January, and also the ability to get everybody energized again 2 months from now?
I'm more concerned about that. We were able to see some improvements with our election process, especially in Fulton County, where State Farm Arena was opened up. The city of Atlanta owns State Farm. It's operated by the Hawks. They opened it up. That helped tremendously with voting in Fulton County. Also educating people about the ability to go out and early and encouraging people to do that. But I am concerned about turnout. We can't take anything for granted. And sometimes people don't come back for the runoff election. But I do believe the momentum that we are seeing out of Georgia, the attention that our state is getting, will really spotlight this runoff election. And I think people will have to educate people on how important it is that Joe Biden also have the Senate to truly make a difference in this country.
Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, thank you so much for coming back on the show. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.